Hey, fellow YouTubers, JJ the Trucker coming to you from Wilmington, Illinois. You know what, I get a lot of comments all the time about my videos, and I really appreciate them. When it came to one of my recent videos, the video about dropping and hooking, I ended up getting 3 really good questions / comments that I wanted to address and share with you guys. I could have just answered them, but the answers either would have been, one's a visual. You definitely have to have a visual. The other 2, the responses probably would have been a little too long. I really wanted to take a moment and really share this with everybody as well, because it's some really good information. All right, so first one. The first comment that we've got here is from John Wick. Yeah, John Wick himself is a follower of mine. All right, I don't know if it's the real John Wick, but if it is, cool. All right, it says, how is the Kingpin locked on the 5th wheel plate from coming off going up? Okay, and I know what he means. So you got the Kingpin. It slides into that 5th wheel like we saw on the on that video. But how is it keep from just slipping up every time you hit a bump? Let's go take a look at it, shall we? All right, hold on one second. All right, here we've got an overhead view of the 5th wheel here. Sorry for the wind if you're hearing it. And you can see now that hole that you're seeing through there, that's not where the Kingpin actually goes. It slides in here, okay, and you see it's surrounded on 3 ends. And then when that locking jaw comes in, it surrounds it on the 4th end, kind of boxing it in. So, again, what keeps it from popping right out? Well, let's go take a look here, shall we? All right. So here's a Kingpin, and now I think you can see why it doesn't slide out, or pop up, I should say. So as you can see, this area right in here, I'm not going to touch it because it's greasy. This is where the lockjaw locks around, and you've got this extra plate right here that keeps it from popping up and going awry. And this thing it's a strong lock too. Like if the trailer actually blows over, then it'll take the tractor with it. It really will, because that thing is locked in. All right, so really good question, John Wick. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to answer that. All right, let's go back to the other question. All right, everybody, back here. Let's see here. Now, these other 2 were comments regarding my methodology and the steps that I used, maybe things that they feel I would have forgotten, etc. These are not intended to, tear me down or anything like that. They were friendly advice. So I do want to share them and also comment on them. But my goal is not to tear these people down either, because they really are trying to offer some really good friendly advice and good information. So let's go ahead and read them off here. George Wilson says, the very, very last thing you do is pull your 5th wheel release handle when dropping a trailer. You pulled that handle before you crank down your legs. When you drop a trailer, you crank your legs down first, then you disconnect your pigtail on Airlines. Then pull your 5th wheel release. Then slowly pull out from under the trailer and leave the frame of the tractor under the trailer in case the dolly legs don't hold and you have to hook it up again. That's how I was taught, but your backing was good. Well, thanks for the feedback on the backing, for the positive on the backing there. So here's the thing. All those are really good pieces of advice, that if you do it that particular way, you're doing it very, very well. I was taught a few different ways from different trainers. You really have to look at the type of equipment that you are running as well. With Prime, everything's new, so nothing really fails, and not to say it never will. So again, this is good advice. The one thing I would say, though, maybe a little bit different, is to disconnect the airlines first. When you disconnect those airlines, the brakes, excuse me, the trailer brakes are going to set. Even if you forgot to set the trailer brakes in the cab, the trailer brakes will get set when you disconnect those airlines. So I always like to do that first. But releasing the 5th wheel is probably the last thing you want to do. You do want to try, actually crank down the legs first, and that's in case the brakes fail. If the brakes fail and you're on an incline, you know, then that thing can slide away from you. But again, if you're running equipment, not again, but I'll say if you're running equipment where the brakes are failing, you may want to get that looked into, or may want to look into the company that you're going with, especially if it's happening more than once. But again, you know, things happen. I'm sure even at Prime, you know, things can slip through the cracks. So, George Wilson, thank you for the advice. That is very good. So, the proper angle or the proper procedure or process would be to disconnect the airlines first to set the brakes, then drop the dolly legs down, crank those things down. That helps set it, and then release your fifth wheel. As far as pulling out slowly from under the trailer, leaving the frame of the tractor under the trailer in case the dolly legs don't hold, that again will be really dependent upon the type of equipment, you know, or the reliability of the equipment. You know, it's good advice. I will absolutely say that it's good advice to do that. I've never seen a Prime trailer where the dolly legs fail because they're all new trailers. You know, Prime keeps their trailers up to date. When a trailer gets too old, they get rid of it. So, but that, you know, but who's to say I'm always going to be working for Prime? Who's to say you're going to be working for Prime or are working for Prime? So, so yes, George Wilson, good advice. Thank you very much for sending that over. The next one, Andrew Cummings. Just a friendly word of advice. I've been on the road for almost 17 years, and after you check the jaws and crank the landing gear an inch or two up, always tug test. Tug test is where you get back in the truck and you attempt to pull forward, tugging against the trailer to make sure that that locking jaw is locked. All right. It says, the jaws can look closed but not be latched. Have seen it happen hundreds of times over the years. Always a good idea to tug anytime after you leave your truck, just to be safe also. So a couple things on that. Again, not bad advice. He says he's seen it hundreds of times. I don't know if that's literal or figurative. Over 17 years, that works out to you know, that works out to over 6 times over 6 times a year. Okay, that he's seeing that happen roughly. So roughly every couple months, and he's seen it happen hundreds of times. So even if he's seen it happen multiple times, a few times, 10 times, something's wrong. If that's happening, if those locking jaws are locking in and the locking handle goes in and yet it is not locked and you can tug and somehow the jaws reopen, something's wrong. That is not normal at all. That should never, ever happen. So if you are seeing that happen, if it's your own equipment, get your equipment fixed, because that's dangerous. And two, if it's not your equipment, you know, if you're working for a company and it's their equipment, you may want to take a look at the company you're working for to see why they're not fixing that or why they're allowing that to happen. Because that is not normal. That is not good. I've not seen that once. Okay, you've seen it hundreds of times. I've not seen it once. But again, I've only been hauling Prime equipment, Prime trailers, Prime a new truck. The locking jaw would be on the truck portion. So yeah, that should not happen. Absolutely should never happen. So always maintain your equipment. That's the other thing. But again, you know, it's also not bad advice either. On the flip side, you know, Andrew's trying to be, you know, give some friendly advice, and that is good advice to do that tug test just in case. Just in case. You know, what does it hurt? Really nothing. So that is good advice. So thank you, Andrew. Also, keep in mind, you know, for the experienced drivers that are out there looking at this stuff, keep in mind who these videos are made for. There's not a single driver out there who hasn't been shown by their trainer how to do a drop and hook, and most of the other things that I'm showing. The audience for most of this type of stuff is the non-trucker, those who are curious. I'm naturally curious. When I wasn't a trucker, I'd look all this stuff up. I wanted to know this kind of stuff. As I'm driving down the road, I see, you know, farming equipment, and I'm like, ooh, I'm curious. I'm never going to be a farmer, you know, never have been a farmer. but I'm curious about it, so I'll look that kind of stuff up just to be curious. So keep in mind, that's really who the audience is here. If they ever do become truckers, they're going to be properly trained by their company based on their equipment. So always keep that in mind, when you're offering the advice. Not that the advice is bad. This is definitely good advice. But just keep that in mind, who the audience is when it comes to these types of videos. All right. That is it. It's going to be a nice, quick, short video just to kind of address these things real quick. I do appreciate the comments. Do keep them coming, especially advice like this. Again, these people who are offering it, thumbs up to you guys. I appreciate it. So if you're seeing this video, you probably are already subscribed. If you are not subscribed for any reason, click on my face. Click on my face. You got to click on my face. Something will happen. Check it out. You'll get the opportunity to subscribe, and then you'll see more videos on the trucking world and everything that you can do, how-tos, tours, all kinds of good stuff. Click on it. Talk to y'all later.